Morning, folks. Welcome to the Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. So happy to be back with you folks, back in the saddle. I apologize. We did miss a week, but we are back, and we're going to talk about a few things today. A lot. I just want to reflect on finally getting out my first comedy special, tell you guys a little bit about the journey and kind of some inside of what it took to make it happen. And I think this will be, obviously, if you're in comedy and coming up and wondering how to do it, it'll be very interesting. But to me, there's a lot of interesting takeaways for kind of anything that you're trying to work on in your life in the modern, and I will put this in quotes, do-it-yourself era. We've also missed a lot going on in the world, so we'll talk a little bit about Trump's misadventure in Iran, and maybe we'll cover the Manosphere doc a little bit at the end. But first, I do want to apologize. Okay, real members of the 12, no, we don't usually be missing weeks out here. We don't usually be missing weeks. I'm pretty consistent, but since the release of the special, it has been an insane deluge of just doing podcasts, flying across the country. I forget my exact stats. I think it was, I don't know, I did a bunch of pods in New York. I did 2 or 3 in New York, and then I flew to Arizona throughout the first pitch of the Giants game. We will discuss. Throughout the first pitch of the Giants game, went to the Bay Area for 2 days, went to Vegas for 1 day, Salt Lake for 1 day, Austin for 1 day, Nashville for 2 days, LA for 2 days, 7 pods in the LA 2 days, 3 or 4 in Austin, and now I'm back. So all to say, if you really felt like you missed me, there were ways that you could find me. And that's what made me feel like it was acceptable to miss a week for the lovely 12, because I've been on these airwaves, and you would have been able to hear me quite well. Now, the Giants game, pretty interesting situation there. Every year, I always go to spring training. It is a trip that started with my dad. And my dad and his brother would go to spring training every year, Avery Brothers trip. And when my brother and I were old enough, 10, 12, I don't remember exactly, maybe even a little bit younger, I don't know, but we started going. And so me, my brother, my cousin, and then my dad and my uncle, we would go, and it was like a little Avery Boys trip. And then as time went on, that expanded. My dad invited some of his friends. I started inviting some of my friends. It kind of became this multi-generational boys trip. Now, this year, we were going in honor and in memory of my dad. So there were, it was fun. It was a celebration. There's always drinking. Some would say too much. They would be right. And but it was also an emotional trip. And that's one of those things that is, it is tough when you lose someone and you want to honor them by doing the things that you used to do together, and it feels really good because you feel a closeness and you feel a presence, and then also at random times you'll just be like crying in the shower, and that's okay. That's how life works. And what was cool about this trip is with it being the first one without him, the fact that I got to throw out the first pitch at the San Francisco Giants game and bring my brother onto the field was a pretty cool full circle moment. And as much as it's one of those things that I really wish he could have been there to see, it is one of those things where it's like, it just kind of happens, and you're like, depending on what you believe in, it's like, oh, maybe we got a little extra luck there. Maybe there's some meaning. It is kind of funny how life works in those ways, and that ends up being a happy thought. Sad thought that I spent all those years pitching and decided to do the full windup there, and the one thing that I did was the one thing my dad always yelled at me for, which is I pulled the front shoulder open, pulled that pitch right across, threw a heater. It was fast, but it was very, very wide, and it did go to the backstop. But that's not the point. The point is we got it done. And later in the trip, we were actually out. We were out at a bar. You know, the boys had the boys had a couple. The boys had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'd had a lot. Probably double digits. We were having a good time, and a guy comes up to my friend. And he goes, "Is your friend famous?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's a comic." He's like, "I thought so. Let me introduce you to someone." Brings us over to the CEO of the San Francisco Giants, Larry Bear. Introduces us. He's the coolest guy in the world. We proceed to just hang out for like 45 minutes. We're taking selfies. I got his number. Just saying, might have a chance, might have verbal confirmation that I'll be able to avenge that pitch on the rubber at AT&T Park this year. And that's why you do it. And that's why you make your special live in San Francisco. And that's why you commit those years to being a Giants fan. And that's why you are a hometown kid. That's why you do it, folks. You build out from your base. Okay? Respect where you came from. So that was very fun. But in general, I think I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched the special, listened to it. I know the 12s were probably on this one early. So thank you guys very much. Everyone who shared it with someone. I've been hearing stories of people watching it 3, 4, 5 times, sharing it with their mom, their dad, doing family watch parties. That stuff is, you know, when you want things to go the way that I want them to go, that's technically what should be happening. But when you actually hear it, it's like, what? So it's really cool, but I'm proud of what we put out. You know, I check in with comedy specials. I do a QA, I do a quality report. I see what people are putting out, what some major streamers are putting out. Feel very good that we put out one of the better ones of the year. So what I want to talk about today is what that actually looks like, because it is really cool and fun, and I'm filled with gratitude when a lot of people come up and they're like, dude, congratulations. Congratulations. So happy for you. You put out the special, and I really appreciate that. But the thing that always is interesting to me in the congratulations realm, and the reason that I really want to do this as a podcast topic, is because I think I talk to a lot of comics who kind of assume like something happened or something was given to me, instead of the fact that it was like a decision that was made, right? Where I decided to fully fund, assemble the great team. Shout out to Don't Tell Kyle K.A., the entire team that he brought. Everyone's in the credits. Sam, who edited, Tim Young, who directed, shout out to everybody. But the idea that it was this isn't back in the day when it's like, dude, HBO said, here's your special, this is your moment, you've made it. This is, are you willing to invest an amount of money from your years of touring that will not come back to you off of the thing that you put out, but the hope is that you make enough new fans, you sell tickets on the back end, it's like something that builds your career further up. And so, to me, it's just interesting because it's a huge moment, and I appreciate the congratulations, but it is something that was fully bootstrapped and done by me at a time that I thought was right. And it is funny, I have been someone who has wanted to do this and tried to do this for years. I have always been, when I can't sleep at night, I'm lying there and this isn't out yet, but I went on my friend Hassan and Derek's show, and we talked about this, the Solid Show, plotting. Just fucking pulling up and just plotting. Dude, manifesting, thinking about shit. Like, I can't sleep, it's 2 a.m., all right, content ideas. That sounds like the douchiest thing I could say. I sound like Gary V, like, you can't sleep? Good. Turn it into content. Jocko Willink, you can't sleep? Good. Good. You're becoming a man. Write a TikTok. But I do be brainstorming at night. Like, here's where I want to go. Like, I have stress because of where I want to be as a comedian versus where I am. And so for me, it's not like, how do I get this next thing? It's more like, I know people that have massively successful careers, and I am like, what is the gap between me and them, and what moves do I have to make to get there, and how does that translate into work that I have to do today? And this podcast, this episode isn't about just like fucking grind set, but it is a little bit about how you make your own luck. Now, on a broad scale, I think people will overutilize this, and it's like, it's social media. Everything's great. Everything's roses. Everyone's happy. You have your own opportunity. You can make whatever you want happen. That's not how it works. How the social media actually manifests is like, everyone has learned that they can get pops off the algorithm, but that if they displease the great dark algorithmic god, that they have to like sage and incense their entire home as well as their cell phone in order to be back in the favor of the pagan algorithmic god. And it has led to a situation where basically no comics are happy no matter how successful they are, because they're worried of a fall off. I've talked to people at every level. This is where a lot of people are at. That being said, you don't have to wait for someone to make something happen, but you also have to realistically wait and find out until the time is right. So coming out of the pandemic, I was just sitting at home like, I need to fucking figure it out. I can't be doing Zoom shows for 10 people anymore. I can't move back to San Francisco and just keep doing the same open mics that I was doing, even though they helped me get a lot better. I need to do something different. So I was like, I'm going to film a highly topical pandemic special. A special that is just jokes that are based off of the time that we are in, anchoring on a true story about how a crackhead meth head was consistently breaking into my apartment, and that's why I had to leave San Francisco. This was my plan. And I went, and the guys who run the setup had me on their show. It was an outdoor show next to a very loud food truck with a very loud generator, with a relatively uninterested audience. And I had Kyle, who ended up directing or helping Tim Young, who was the director, helping out basically make this special come to fruition. He was the director of that special. He filmed the whole thing. He brought all the cameras. We were like, dude, we're doing a pandemic special. I'm going to get this thing out on YouTube right now. It's going to be all my jokes about this moment. It's going to be cathartic. Like, people are going to care about this. This is going to change my life, dude. And we filmed it. And you know what I do after I film something? I party. We went, we drank. We had people over to the house. I think Irene 2 was there. Andrew Ruff. We had a great group of people to the house. We played Jenga. I rented a lovely place, okay, in Soma. Floor-to-ceiling windows, loft space. We played Jenga. Everyone like, congratulations, dude. You shot that special. And I was like, yeah, the fuck I did. Pandemic special. The first real great flag to be planted in the Joey Avery empire. And then we watched it. And it was unwatchable. It was a piece of shit. It sucked. This is what happens. You think you want something. You think you're ready. I put things... Now, I didn't fucking spend the money that I spent on this to do that, but I was like, I need to do something. I need to move shit forward. Let's get it. Let's do it. Done. Did that. Sucked. Didn't put it out. Didn't even get a clip. Several years later, I've finally been touring for full hour shows. And I'm like, okay, I think I have my material to a place where I want it. I'm doing my San Jose show. This is a annual Christmas tradition. I'm not gonna invest in a special, but I'm gonna pay like double, triple what I usually do to get this shot. We're gonna get some extra cam ops in there. Let's just get a few more cameras in there. What is a special anyway? Let's just tape my full hour. I felt good about the set. I was looking at it, I was like, dude, maybe this is a special. It wasn't. And finally, all these years later, I actually get a weekend at the San Francisco Punchline. I'd headlined it, for a one-off show, but you need a weekend to get a special, all that. I finally have this. I'm like, it's in San Francisco, and we're like, let's do it. And I get the right team together. I feel really good about it. And of course, this ends up being the special. But the reason that I tell you this is I thought I was ready for this an entire 5 years, half a decade before I was. But then there's a moment, there is a feeling people believe in different things. Some people believe that, God tells them when a time is right. Other people believe it's the universe. Other people think maybe it's just things clicking in your brain and it's a subconscious thing. But eventually, with any good piece of art, things kind of come together in the right way, in the right time. And for me, it was like, okay, Punchline weekend, boom, that seems like it. The hour is to a place way better than it's ever been before, even to the point where some of these jokes, I'm like, I want to get these out there because I want them to be in a special, but I want to move on from them. And we get it all together, and we had so many different plans. Initially, I was like, well, everyone's, I've seen a million clips of the Punchline, so I want to cover the back of it. I want to put curtains over the back. I want it to look totally different. I want it to look like a special. Thankfully, I got a good piece of advice. I called Schulz up, and he was like, why are you filming at the Punchline? I was like, well, it's my home club. It's one of my favorite clubs. Like, maybe my favorite club. Like, I have so much history there. And he was like, okay, then let it be that. Don't try to turn it into something it's not. You picked this place for a reason, and your job then is to honor the place, make it look as good as it is. And this is, I think, a great piece of advice for a special or anything that you're trying to do. Sometimes when something is big, when something is important, you spend all these ways in your brain thinking about, like, it's almost a place of insecurity. I want this to be so good that how do I make it better? How do I make it something it's not? Because it needs to be even more than it is. It needs to be greater than the sum of its parts. 2 + 2 needs to equal 5. It can't equal 4. This needs to be a 5. You can't do that. And that was an illuminating moment for me, because the first time that I wanted to film a special, I was like, it needs to punch through. How am I going to make it punch through? And I had all these ideas. I texted my friend. I had all these like crazy gimmick ideas. I was like, I was like going to do something where the crowd was like supposed to not laugh, or I forget. I had all these like weird gimmicks, and my friend was basically like, yeah, these are all interesting ideas you clearly came up with at 4 a.m., but you're actually good at this. So maybe just let it be what it is. That's an extreme example, but obviously, like, I will do things where I go to a club and I add a background and a curtain and all of it, like maybe it'll fit with the concept of what I'm doing. But this one was funny because it was like, all right, let's just make the Punchline what it is. And then we were trying to think of titles, and I had all these titles that I thought were like the theme of the whole thing. We're going to do live at the Punchline. And then eventually we realized, like, hey, you fucking idiot. You love the Bay Area. You always put on for the Bay. There's a fucking mural of San Francisco painted behind you that you didn't even have to pay for. Maybe you just do live in San Francisco in the history of a great many comedy albums and specials that are just a simple, no frills, live here, just fucking chill, let the art be what it's going to be. And all of those, I think, are useful things from this experience that I will try to take to other things that I'm trying to do. Like, if I'm trying to audition for something, don't try to do some crazy, like, I need to make a splash. Everything online right now is like, I need to make a splash. Like, maybe my podcast would work if I was dressed as a banana every episode. No offense to people who do that, but just like, you do that and then you're doing that. And there's some level of confidence that can come from just being like, here's what it is. But the real question is, does it fit with the concept? So, for example, I don't think it's out yet, I did a podcast on the run with John Goblikon. He's dressed as a goblin. Now, obviously, he's not a goblin in his day-to-day life, but it fits the show. It makes sense. It is the show. It's good. It's fun, right? What is the actual thing that we're doing? So it was one of those things where all these little things, little decisions that like I'd been wanting to do for a while, somehow kind of congealed together, right time, right place, with a little bit of just trusting the process, getting the process going, and figuring it out. That is to say, you don't have to wait for someone to tell you when it's time to do something, but you also have to realize that there are going to be times when you think it's ready, when you think something is good, when you think you're ready to run for something that it might not be. And even if you do, let's say you want to start a fucking business. You want to start it and you're like, we have all these fucking great ideas, we're going to do it, and then you launch and it doesn't go well. Well, that is a learning experience. You can figure out how to iterate, how to change, how to do better, but you are the person who can make all these things happen. And that's one of the cool things about this day and age. It's it is cool that you can do things independently, but to do something well independently, it's gonna require a great team, is what I learned. I could have done this cheaper, wouldn't have been as good. I could have done it earlier, wouldn't have been as good. Could have done it with a different team, wouldn't have been as good. You need the right team, the right time, the right idea, the right skill set. And the whole time that I was doing it, it felt like it is a very solo journey. Like, okay, getting the hour ready, that's on you. Making sure everything looks good, that's on the team, but you have to sign off on it. And then even going through the annoying shit, figuring out the fucking thumbnail, figuring out the first clip, figuring out what podcast I'm going to be on, reaching out to people, not hearing back, getting told no, getting told yes, but trying to like work my way into all these different things. It's been a very solo journey. And then at the other end of that, it releases and it feels like the opposite. And then it feels like a professional wedding. And then it feels like all of a sudden, all these people that I haven't even heard from in a while, they're sharing it on their stories. They're big up it. They're commenting. They're sharing with people. I'm going on all sorts of podcasts. I'm getting to see comedians I haven't seen in a long time. I'm flying around the country. Again, out of my own dime. There's no ROI on this. This is all basically a bet on myself that I'm doing. But the members of the 12 liking, sharing, people from all the podcasts I've been doing over the years, the Yak. And so it goes from this very solo independent journey to this like, wow, I feel like, I feel embraced by a community and I, haven't felt like this in a while sort of thing. So very cool experience. But like anything else, it's not necessarily an easy one, and you do find out you're standing with people when the podcast you do get. Okay, guess I'm not getting that one, and that's okay. And streamers watching it going, yeah, no, we're gonna pass on this one, and then you watch some of the other shit they put up, and you're like, all right, and that's okay, that's fine. But it is a cool time when you can put out whatever the fuck you want to. And on the one hand, that does create interesting art. It allows you to make all your own decisions. You don't have to fit inside of some gatekeeper's box. On the other, it does stifle what you can do. The fact that I even have about a 25-second intro before I get to jokes is a huge risk for YouTube, because a lot of the best advice is like, get right to the main thing, or start with a joke and then fucking rewind it because it's all retention rate in the first 30 seconds. And I was like, no, I want it to look like this. It fits with the San Francisco theme. I want to show the club up front. I want to do me walking through San Francisco. And I did all that. So you have some creativity, but we're all stuck within the boxes we live in, folks. But, it's been a very cool experience, and, I want to make the advice from this very, very simple. Like, I want it to be like, just like, dude, you just got to fucking, like, in this day and age, bro, you just got to fucking live your truth, and you just got to be you, and you just got to put it out there, and, like, everything's going to work out, because you really never know what's going to, like, go viral, and you just got to start, like, posting every day. And it's like, that's actually not my advice. My advice is that you can do it yourself, but you better hope that all the work you've been doing in the shadows to make it better over a decade, to build your network over a decade, to build your core fan base over a decade, to build the relationships that you have with people on podcasts over a decade. A lot of it which has come out of paying out of pocket, taking a risk, making sure everything is a long-term investment. Like doing all the work in the shadows, I would say, starts now. I wouldn't say go put out a special. I wouldn't say go start a business or start a podcast or whatever. I would say think about what you want to do and start working on it now, but know that all those fucking seeds that you plant over a decade are very, very important and will come back when you need them. So when you know when the time is right and when you think you've put the work in, be willing to take a risk and bet on yourself. Like, again, I'm happy with how this has come out. The numbers are good. It's been really fun. I've been blown away by the community support, but like, I'm hoping we hit another level with this. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I fucking blew up and I made all this money off it. Not at all. It's been a solid start, and I think it could get where we need it to go. But you do have opportunity to do things yourself right now. It just requires a shitload of work, a long-term view, and a belief in yourself, a work ethic, and also a little bit of finding out when the time is right and being able to kill that shit when it's not. But anyway, I always say that it's independently produced. That is true. For anything to be successful that is independent, it actually requires a bigger community than anything else. So that is me saying thank you to everyone who helped, and thank you to all of you who listened to this, who supported. I don't have people in LA buying fucking billboards for you boys. So it's y'all, it's us, it's the 12. Let me read you some tour dates, and then let's get into the news, because I've left y'all hanging, and a lot is happening. But first, let's talk about that hot tour. And once again, if you come see me live, it's a brand new hour, full new hour. Shout out to the member of the 12, the homie who wore the Underberg jersey and came to Vegas because of one of the clips where I took an Underberg shot with a lady, and we did take a shot together, and he did buy me a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I wasn't going to drink that day, but you know what? If I had let a St. Patrick's Day going by without having my favorite beer, which I have all the time, a Guinness, would have been sad. So thank you, brother. Tour dates, Minneapolis, that is April 3rd and 4th. That's coming up. Also, if you happen to be in Providence, Rhode Island, I'm doing a big theater with Andrew Schulz this Saturday. But next weekend, April 3rd, 4th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Then we've got Calgary, Naples, Dania Beach, Dallas, Texas, Bernalillo, New Mexico, Cleveland, Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago, San Francisco, Sacramento, Houston, Brea, Tempe, Edmonton, St. Pete, Charlotte, Detroit, San Diego. JoeyAvery.com for those. If you don't see your city and you want to join my mailing list, you go on my website. There's pop-ups all over that bitch. There's a bar at the top. Very easy to request a show. That lets me let you know when shit's popping. And then, for the love of God, if you haven't watched the special, check that out. Check that out. Anyway, let's move on. Before we're gonna talk about what's going on in Iran here, and of course Polymarket and the Manosphere doc. But before we do any of that, one thing I've noticed, and it has been interesting to me, is as a consumer of news, I have been told that we are in Armageddon at the airports. Every airport is the worst it's ever been. TSA lines have never been this long. People are waiting in TSA lines 4 hours, 5 hours, missing flights, left, right, center. I can only speak from my personal experience. I've been to 7 airports in the last 9 days. Never a chiller TSA in my life. Like literally COVID levels of TSA. I'm talking 3 minutes max. Now, personal experience does not negate statistical reality. Sure, true, factual. I'm just saying, Arizona, Vegas, Salt Lake, 2 New York airports, San Jose, Nashville, and I'm missing one, LA, and they were all super chill. Just interesting. Just very interesting. Could have been the time I'm flying. Could have been a bunch of things. And most importantly, TSA officers deserve to get fucking paid for their job. They're showing up. They're getting us through security. They need to be paid, compensated now. Figure it the fuck out. Yes. But it is interesting. It is interesting when you're hearing news about something you've personally experienced and you're going, are we sure? All I can hear is Atlanta. I saw people making KFC from Barstool made a whole video about how bad the TSA lines were in Austin. I did do a Google, and it said Austin airport has reported 0 resignations from TSA, and the mess at the airport was actually due to an insane influx from South by Southwest. So just a concept surrounding media narratives. It's been fine to fly for me personally, and that's what this show is about. Interesting. Moving on to Iran. I can't remember the last time we checked in on things that were going on, but yeah, I would say not going well, and predictably so. One of these situations where Donald Trump, who has the attention span of a later in life goldfish, and who thought it's very like what his concept of how the USA should work. And I don't support the Ayatollahs, and I don't support Maduro. You see how important it always is? Because people are like, what are you, fucking pro-Iran? Let's have a real conversation and be adults here. There's something called blowback. There's something called downstream effects of your actions. There's something called understanding the interconnectedness of the global political and economic system that actually, even though we can suggest that there are ways for the United States to exert power in places other than just going and murdering their leaders whenever we feel like it. Now, here's some of the short-sightedness in play. Trump does not like when oil prices are high. And we knew Iran was going to close the Strait of Hormuz, right? Or some of us did. He thought he could go in, knock a few people off, just like Venezuela. Someone will come in and be like, oh, I'm afraid of Trump. And then all of a sudden we kind of control Iran. And now all of a sudden we're really cooking. Now, there are reasons we used to use soft power. They've tried to defund all those, whatever. He just wants to show people we can fuck you up and take over your place, and then things will be totally fine. The problem is when you're dealing with human beings, they sometimes do actually behave rationally like human beings. That's the concern. That's one of the things he didn't think about when he killed the entire family of who is now running Iran. It causes some bad blood. Now, the other problem is that our strategy there was to we would set up a negotiation, and then we'd get all their top people in one place to negotiate with us, and then we would just bomb them. So we would just kill all of their top negotiators. Now, you could see how that's an efficient way to do it, right? Because you're like, oh, these idiots all went to one place. Maybe zoom in. Maybe that's a WFH. Maybe it's a work from home. And then it's like, we kill them. Now, the problem with that is that then you've started a war that you aren't as invested in to the long haul as a regime that views it as an existential fight. And then to end it, what you'd want to do, generally, sometimes, how you would then end that is by negotiations. Now, the problem is people might not want to negotiate with you if the last time you offered that, you murdered everyone who did it. So that's the problem. Now, again, I'm not pro-Iranian regime. I think they're bad people, and I wish that the people of Iran with whom I would agree most closely could run it. That's what I'd like. That's what I'd like in all of the countries. In every country, I'd like that. But I have I have an unfortunate realist streak in me. That's like, what if that doesn't work? And then we end up in this situation where Trump keeps being like, they came here. They want to jerk us off. They do, but we're not very hard right now. But trust me, they want to come. They want to jerk us off. They've done a little bit of foreplay. We have a thing called a hand job, and sometimes they tickle the taint. They've tickled the taint, right? And then they're like, no, we haven't. Now, of course, if I was trying to give someone who just bombed me a hand job, I'd say no, too. I'm just a little bit worried about where things go, because if you listen to anybody who actually expresses the Iranian regime's opinion, which I don't believe Trump has done, is that their goal, once you've done something like this, is to make sure they've exacted enough pain and punishment upon you that you don't just keep bombing them like you recently did. So now we're in a situation, and I hate to note this, but we opened up a war by bombing a girls' school. Okay. Think about if the Iranian regime bombed a girls' school in America, there actually would not be a Middle East anymore, is how we would have reacted. That is how we would have reacted. Noting. I know it was an accident. I know we didn't mean to. Some accidents people find hard to forgive. So we open up with that. We tank the global economy. We also undermine our position as negotiators with shitty regimes. Again, fuck the IRGC. I wish that they would fall. I wish that. I just don't see it happening. So now it's hard to negotiate with us. We want to end a war that they have no incentive to end right now, unless we escalate further. Think boots on the ground, things like this. And Trump, by all reports, is like getting kind of over it. It's kind of like, yeah, this is not like good, right? And it's like, yeah, but the thing is that most people would have thought about that a little bit, especially people whose entire thing was like, all I do is like peace, you know? So that's where we are with that. And there's a lot of different like competing theories, and I think like people like overcomplicate things a lot, because everyone has really they view Trump, and Trump loves it. They have Trump derangement syndrome. They think about Trump. Everything Trump does is bad, and it's like people do have it in both ways. On the one hand, some people can never give him credit if he's done something correct, right? But other people are like so wedded to the idea that he's not just kind of a narcissist with a short attention span who knows how to read a room, but really only kind of cares about himself, that they think that he's thinking in like more complex ways. And it's like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. That's all he cares about, but that works for a large percentage of the public who's like, yeah, dude, it just does. And it's that we assume levels of complexity to certain figures just because of their job, but sometimes they just ended up there. And I think that's the scariest thing of all, is people want to believe there's this fucking plan and he's either maximum evil or he's maximum genius. And it's like, no, he's maximum get rich and corruption. Like that's what it is. I mean, they're literally using the war right now to manipulate the markets. The amount of market manipulation that happened minutes, like billions of dollars traded minutes before the announcements that he's making that move the markets on this war in Iran, are crazy. Next level grift. And we've talked about, I mean, there's a million fucking examples of it. We've seen it. It's so frequent. Jared Kushner's $2 billion from the Saudis, and now he's involved. He was the one trying to be involved in these talks with Iran. It's insane. The Trump bros, Eric and Donald Trump Jr., the president's sons, are backing a new drone company that is vying to meet fresh demand from the Pentagon and fill a hole left by the administration's ban on new Chinese drones in the U.S. Seth Abramson notes their dad just engaged Iran in a drone war. Before it began, they started investing heavily in a drone company that aims to do huge business with the DoD. How do people not see that this family is betraying our country, soldiers, and economy? war profiteering right before our eyes. This is my actual question. Is there so much corruption that people don't even care anymore? Like, is that where have we actually reached the point where there's so much of it every day that it's like, what are you going to do? Yes, of course. Yes, of course, the people with the same name as the president are investing in companies that deal directly with our government that his decisions shape. His daughter just got a bunch of trademarks and patents in China surrounding their tariff negotiations. Like, we kind of know all this, but it's one of those things that I kind of want to pause on more often. I think we should pause on this more often than we do. There's always been some corruption, shady background dealings, insider trading, but we were actually supposed to root out that and use the government to go after that and make people pay for it. But now everyone's just so blatantly open about the corruption. I guess we don't care. Trying to think, this is a comedy pod, so usually I'd have a funny angle, but instead I just want to talk about this because here's the comedy, except I mean it. Bring back treason. Bring back treason. If you look at some of these trades that are based off of inside information about our war effort, that are either decisions made to help fund those people or people who just know it, who do massive insider trading, which goes out ahead of the decision, which then would alert the enemy combatants to our position on a battlefield, while we're placing polymarket bets that actually show Iran what is coming because insiders are getting... That's... Hang them. Right? I'm actually... because it's a comedy show, so you think I'm doing a bit. It's treason. Hang them. Isn't that the crime for treason? Hang them in a public square. This is what should actually be. We have these kind of like milquetoast, like, yeah, you should actually like divest. And presidents used to like care about what the people thought. And like there was this idea that it was civil. Dude, the idea that Trump is a civil servant is patently hilarious even to people who voted for him. That's not what he is. That's not what he's doing. It's not what the family's doing. They're not serving anybody, and it's not civil. If you are engaged in inside military information and you're trading on it, and you're in a position of power within the U.S. government, and your trades can be seen to be helping the enemy. I mean, you think if I figured out that Polymarket might have some useful information that maybe Iran has, hang them. It's treason. Hang them in a public square. Now, look, I'm a moderate. So here's what I would say. I would say let people know that soon this will be treason. I don't think anyone needs to be drawn and quartered or tarred and feathered or whatever we did during the Revolutionary War. I don't know if any of that needs to happen to people who are just doing what everyone else is doing right now. But we kind of need to tell people to stop doing it. So here's what I propose. We tell people, hey, in 3 months, this is how this will be seen. You may make your last trades now. We recommend you stop in 3 months. At that point, if you start using American taxpayer money to execute wars that we don't want, while people within the military and the government are using that information to place bets, be they on Polymarket or the stock market, to enrich themselves, when our men and women in uniform are coming back in caskets, yeah, traitors, hang them. I'm actually not kidding. It's crazy, and I've had enough. And that's fun. So this is how we're doing this week's episode. You start up top with an inspirational yet realistic look at the life of a new online content creator in the modern age. And while it is designed to encourage people to build the life that they look for, it has a realistic lens to it, and it lets you know that it takes a village and it takes a lot of work and it takes the timing being right. That's the first half. Second half, we're going to engage in politics, and I'm just going to crash out about corruption, and I'm going to suggest war tribunals from the Revolutionary War era. And that's a comedy show, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's fun. Now, there are fun things going on Polymarket, and we're going to keep tracking Polymarket right up until they sponsor us, in which case I'm going to be like, it's fine. Right? And what they've done, they created a bar in Washington, D.C. Now, it seemed like a meme. I thought this was like an April Fool's joke. But there's kind of this meme going around the internet that's like, hey, I've been monitoring the situation. You know, I'm keeping tabs on this. I know what's happening. All right. And I should look it up. It probably comes from like Trump saying it at one point, or everyone said we'll monitor the situation. And it's really just people looking at like charts and shit in DC while actual people engage in military war games and things like that. Well, Polymarket created a bar in DC built for people to monitor the situation. So it's a bunch of graphs, so you can basically look at like real time, like the market, how the market is moving. You can look, I would imagine there's some radar sorts of stuff, so you can see what's happening overseas. You can see the movements of ships. It's a brilliant idea. Let's be honest. It's a sports bar for like DC nerds and finance bros. If they built it correctly, the bathroom would actually just be one long mirror with a straw. And you could go in there, okay? It's been a long day at work monitoring the situation. And so you want to let your hair down. So you take your vest and you zip it down about a quarter way through and you go, time to relax. So you take your vest, you walk into that bar, and you just monitor the situation with the boys. You bust Polymarket out, you place a couple of bets. You put a little bit of action on Iran. You put a little bit of action on Lebanon. This is what's happening in America. The worst person you know has death and destruction in the Middle East in a parlay, and they're not sure if it's going to hit. And we all think it's bad, and we all think it's horrible, unless that motherfucker in the vest next to you has inside information, in which case you go, I don't support this, but I'm going to create an account because this guy seems like he knows something. And this is an actual bar. And the first night of the bar, they went in, and it was an open bar, and all the electricity didn't work. So you couldn't monitor the situation. It was hanging out with a bunch of empty flat screens and like a globe and like free drinks. And that's tough, but that is America. That is where we are right now. Because here is a kind of tongue-in-cheek, goofy internet idea that we turned into an actual space that we're kind of attending ironically. We're really like, isn't it funny that we're betting on world events? Because the humor is dark and it's kind of gross, and we know it's gross. But now it's an open bar and it's a physical space. And we can go, and we're actually giving more money to Polymarket, who's doing this, who the president's son is on the board of. Conflict of who? This is how you tell people there's no inside information. Oh, the president's son is on the board of it. Oh, yeah, we're going to look the other way, you think? And so while real stuff is going on in other parts of the world, we're able to like actually stand 2 feet in a 3-dimensional meme space where we are kind of living inside of a meme and getting drunk inside of it. And it's funny, but the meme is based on the death and destruction of other people, that our money, that actually some of the tax money from the drinks we're buying is actually going to. And our own guilt is kind of wrapped up in it so much that it can't be anything but kind of funny and kind of fun and glib. And I say all this like it's so disgusting I would never take part in it. I'd go to the bar. I would. I just know that it's bad for us cellularly on like a soul level. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's like even I know like sports gambling. It's like, yeah, this industry is kind of crooked. The second you start winning, they actually shut you out. So if you really are good at it, they'll never let you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes you just kind of want to text the boys and be like, I got Iowa State. I got Iowa State. I got Iowa State winning, and I have boots on the ground by the end of March. Not good. However, what do we do? What do we do? And that isn't to say that we can't do anything, because we can. But when I look on Polymarket and I see that they've created genuinely, truly, factually odds for a nuclear detonation, I'm not saying someone would set off a nuke just to win a bet. But what if it was a 17-leg parlay? That's the question. What if it was a 17-leg parlay? A lot of if you've ever been a gambler, and I don't recommend it, and I definitely don't recommend 17-leg parlays. If you've ever been a gambler and you're 16 for 17 on a parlay, you've probably said out loud to someone next to you, "I'd nuke a small island nation for this to hit." You might have said that. Now imagine the fact that the person with the parlay has the nukes. And that's where we're heading. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. I always say this on here. It's not all doom and gloom. The news is always negative. If it bleeds, it leads. No one, we're looking at these horrible things that are going on that don't seem to have any end in sight, sure. But, no one's writing an article called "Guy Eats Baguette Sandwich in Paris, Drinks Bottle of Natural Wine, and is Able to Have Good Sex with Someone He Just Met in the Park." That probably happened today, too. That might be happening as we speak. That's good news. Where are you at, New York Times? New York Times! Write that article. You're stressing everybody out. It wouldn't lead. It wouldn't lead at all. I'd probably have 5 times as many views on my comedy special if I made it Joey Avery finally addresses the allegations. What allegations? I don't know. But you'd click, and then I'd have to I could put a timer in the corner that's countdown to craziest moment, and it's 1 hour. Thing ends at 55 minutes. Boom. Arbitrage. Rich. We win. We're all guilty of it, dude. I don't click on article, "Man has good day on bicycle." But you know what? An article is something you read. A good day on a bicycle is something you have. Okay? Get out there. Get out there and rip some pedals, you little fucking sluts. Get out there, members of the 12. Hop on a bicycle and have a nice day. Because you need to. Because this right now, I've given you your download of okay, now I know enough about what's going on that I can ruin any cocktail party, and I could at least keep up with the person doing it or the person spouting bullshit at it. Fine. But I'm also, as always, giving you a little push on the bicycle. Now, finally here today, one last story I want to discuss. Watch this Manosphere documentary. I don't know if you watched this. Louis Theroux. It's on Netflix. Little Manosphere documentary. It features some dude named H.S. Tiki-Taki. Imagine that. We can pause right here. Imagine being I'm an example of manhood. And your handle is Tiki-Taki. You better be from Bangladesh, Tiki-Taki. You better be from India, Tiki-Taki. Or you're just being a cute little hoe, you shaved-chested bitch. So HS Tiki-Taki and Sneeko and Myron Gaines were the main, and some other fucking dude who I'd never heard of. But he was the other dude, I don't remember his name, but he's one of those guys that you're watching him in the documentary and I'm I can smell him through the screen. I can smell the shitty cologne. He's just an odd-looking guy. He's wearing 3-piece suits everywhere. He's on a fucking grip of peptides, and he's just they just all are being. And he kind of alludes to this and gets to this. They're all hurt people. They just are. Their entire life surrounds justifying their manhood to audiences largely comprised of 13-year-old boys. That's what they do. They are a child's avatar of what a man is. and they think they're the ultimate peak. Here's a little just an interesting piece of whatever. If your entire identity is wrapped up in your gender, male or female, you are annoying. If you're just I'm just so it's just all about femininity and being a woman and everything is about strong, powerful women figures and blah blah blah. It's it's less annoying than the manosphere. You're still annoying. Okay? And if your entire thing is I'm a man, this is what a fucking man is, dude, men shit, ugh. No one likes you. You're weird and you're weirding us out. Okay? It's hurt people speaking for lost people. That's what the manosphere is. And a lot of those lost people are 12. And eventually they will find themselves and they'll go, oh, okay. You can have, and this is going to be a hot take, you can have sex with women by being nice to them. It's a way to do it. I don't want to be a court controversy here. It's possible. You can achieve success in this life and in this world without being a grifter who just says inflammatory bullshit. You actually can achieve success by working hard, and you can achieve happiness in a relationship by being nice and caring about the other person. These are hot takes. These takes will not be good clips. This clip does 0 numbers. Huh. But the manosphere is basically just human beings who learned how to live as clickbait. That's it. That's the whole thing. And the whole time that they're telling you how to be a man, they're doing the shit that real men have always made fun of. This dude is running around wearing a fanny pack, shaving his chest, constantly on his phone, talking to 13-year-old boys. Is that male behavior? No. You're a fucking child. You guys all are. Dude, be a dude. None of these, everyone's in the manosphere. No one's being a dude. Be a dude. These guys, Andrew Tate tweeted out one of the gayest things you can do is watch sports ball. Fucking what? No. Actually, now think about this. No. Everyone's tried to flip this one. Everyone's like, oh my God, you're not a fucking man. You just watch a dude you're wearing a jersey with another man's last name on it. That's his work shirt. You're not a man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't watch other men do their job for a living. Actually, you're a bitch and you're a pussy because watching sports is cool and dudes do it. Sit. That's the end of the watching sports is cool and dudes do it. Wow. The other one that this man, guys like this clavicular fellow, his whole thing is you gotta be hot. You gotta be hot. He's staring in a mirror. He's hitting himself in the face with a hammer. You gotta be hot. We used to fucking beat the shit out of kids who were doing that. What? Your entire thing is getting your fucking hair right. You're a loser. Not man. I don't even understand how it's manosphere. None of these people are doing things that are manly. You're being a little. I'm going to use a word from a different culture. You're being a nonce. I don't even know what that means, but I think it's right. You're being a nonce. You're being a pussy. Dude, go to a game and have a beer. Don't be on your phone telling 13-year-old boys that they need to call women whores. Not man behavior. The entire manosphere is made up of dudes who are not being men. Their entire thing is being a man is taking charge and putting women in their place. Not what being a man is, actually. What being a man is long-term is being a good person, is making the hard decisions, is making sacrifices that benefit you, and if you end up with a woman in your life, that woman, and ultimately, hopefully, society at large. The idea that This is how it always breaks down, because these guys all love Trump, and they're like, the idea is like the left like killed men, and like all men are is these like whining bitches who like read books and apologize to women and walk around carrying period cups in their pockets. So what we have to do is tell people what being a man actually is renting a Lamborghini and pimping out OnlyFans girls and calling girls whores and and telling them that they're dumb and they don't even want to be listened to. And it's like, you guys are all fucking creeps and weirdos. Just be normal. Be normal. Not saying you can't be unique. Be you, do your thing, you can be whatever. You don't have to like sports, you can like anime, I don't give a fuck. But be a normal person. A normal person who kind of wants normal good things for themselves and the other people around them. And that can be manly too. You can still, like, going to the gym. That's a good thing to do. That's great. See, they're right about that. That's good. Take care of yourself. Have pride. Work hard. Work hard. That's great. Work hard. Make money. Become a provider. That's great. That's awesome too. They even are also like on this like matrix shit where they're like, it's a fucking matrix, dude. Working 9 to 5 is fucking bullshit, slave ass labor. Like, I really need to like build my own business. And it's all about like ownership. And it's like, ooh, partially true. Building your own business, having a side hustle, finding out a way to get ownership and stuff, making money, saving it, investing it so you have ownership so that you're not just going paycheck to paycheck. This is all good advice. Here's where it's bad advice. The only way to be a man is to have like weird OnlyFans girls on your podcast and then quiz them about geography and be like, see, all women are dumb whores. Well, they are when you pick dumb whores. No offense to the dumb whores. I assume you'd self-identify that way, some of you. Let's say this. Intellectually challenged, sexually advanced women might not be great with a map, but I don't even think our president is. So it was funny to watch the documentary because it was just like, yeah, dude, these guys are all fucking weirdos. And like, they're all crashing out about it. Like, Myron did this whole thing about how they deceptively edited. Like, the best scene in the whole thing is this dude Myron Gaines, his girlfriend walks in, and it's so funny because like his gotcha moment is that he proved that in the Netflix edit, and this is true, and I'll give him credit for this, in the Netflix edit, they make it look like Myron tells his girl, hey, get out of here, like go clean the room, I don't want you on this. And then he had his person filming, and it actually shows the whole thing. Their dog is coughing. Didn't even know dogs did that. Their dog is coughing, and the producers are like, hey, sorry, can you actually like get the dog out of here? And then she leaves, and then she actually comes back. Fair point, Myron. Deceptively edited. True. However, that scene was the best scene of the whole thing, not because of that edit, but because of the obvious reality of the situation. This guy gets on a mic, and like anyone on a podcast mic, he's doing one thing. A show becomes something, you become that way on a mic. That's what it is. I can tell you I'm on a mic. And his whole thing on the mic is like, women are fucking dumb whores, and they need you to be a man. They need you to like, it's better if you have multiple partners. They don't like deserve your respect. Like, all women are stupid and men are better. That's the basic boil down of everything he does, and he does it for hours a day, and like, which is insane. But you know what? There's a lot of 13-year-old boys out there who need some information. So the best part of the whole thing, though, is you do see her walk in, and she wasn't planning to be on the documentary, and then you just see their conversation. And he goes from this whole thing about like, no, women want to be fucking told what to do. They want to be told I'm going to have multiple partners. They want to be told this, that. And then she comes in, and you can see it in his face. Bro just code switches immediately. And he tries to stand on business a little bit, but they ask her some questions, and she's kind of like, well, I know what he does for content, but like behind closed doors, that's like not who he really is. And that's the reality of a situation, is that in any relationship, there is some level of compromise. Yeah, you're unfiltered you when it's just you, but you plus someone else is something different. And you can be your most self in that relationship. You can be a better self in that relationship. A good relationship, two together equals more. Okay? It's a better thing. But you just watch how like he can't keep that same energy when he's with her. Because even though he's on mic all day talking shit about this, talking shit about that, when he's behind closed doors, he might say, and he was honest about maybe he want to open a relationship, whatever, but when he's behind closed doors, he is a little fucking, how was your day? He is a little fucking, ooh, I love this. I love this dinner. Thank you so much. Like he is doing all those things that they kind of encourage guys not to do. Because it's not real. Is there an element of reality? Sure, I don't think these guys are just like really like good, nice, loving, perfect. I don't think they're good people to be with. I do think they probably are shitty to women, as they also express on the internet, but not quite at the same level. And that's one of the things to keep in mind in everything that we talk about. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but the term kayfabe has cut through. This is the wrestler as being the wrestler, and you're not supposed to ruin kayfabe. You're supposed to always be about that business and be telling people like, yeah, this is who I am, and never break character. Well, there's kayfabe to everything. Pete Hegseth is doing kayfabe. Our government does kayfabe. The media does kayfabe. We're doing it to ourselves, pretending like the realities of the world aren't happening while we're getting fucking Nick ripped off vapes and butt chugging beers at a fucking Polymarket bar. And so as we get our information through increasingly more divisive and ridiculous sources of media, just remember, from the manosphere to the newsosphere, there's some kayfabe going on. And it's hard to tell what's actually happening, which is why, if you feel like everything has gone mad, if you feel like you're losing your mind, go outside and ride that motherfucking bike, baby. Ride that bike, because there's a real world with real lovely people in it. I swear to you, I promise to you, it's true. And if you want content that doesn't make you feel like shit, watch my special, Joey Avery Live in San Francisco, and come back and watch us again next week. This has been The Joey Show. Thank you for listening. As always, apologies for missing a week. I'll see you next week. Good night. Thank God I have a podcast.